Room's hazy, but your vibe is crystal clear. Got you thinking about Jackal, baby, 'cause he's...
Yo, this is Jackal. Thanks for joining me on the Eli Frequency Podcast. You could have been anywhere in the world right now, but you chose to take the time to spend this moment with me. So as not to waste it, let's get to it. What we talking about? We are talking about a podcast that I did before about Pam Bondi. And I said, if I'm not mistaken, I said she should take this moment to be remembered and to turn over all the files of the Epstein situation. But she did not do that. And what happened today? She was fired by Trump. There are reports that say that he and her got into a conversation a couple of days ago, and he let her know that she would be getting fired soon. And today was that day. She begged for her job, but he wasn't having it. Y'all know him. He loves to fire people. He loves to be a spectacle. And look, I said this was coming. I said he's not loyal to anybody but himself. And as soon as he didn't have a need for her anymore, that this would be the results. And as you see, she's been fired. There's no sympathy, no feeling sorry, no, oh man, I can't believe. No, everybody is happy about this because when bad things happen to bad people, it's a good thing. And now, without the cover of her being the head of the Justice Department, it's going to be harder for her to be shielded now. And I'll be interested to see how her loyalty to Donald Trump remains. Because I would imagine at some point she's going to start feeling a way about being fired. And I would presume that there may be some get back. However, there are things that she can't talk about unless she's directed to come speak in front of Congress. Now, with that being said, I'm wondering if she will still have to come in front of Congress to speak. Now that she's a civilian, they have more power to make her come and have that conversation. So it's very interesting how this is playing itself out. Now, of course, Trump is being Trump, and lately he's just been talking about this war that he likes to call a campaign or a military, what did he call it? A military deployment or military action. He's looking for a way out because, as you all know, he's been calling all of our allies cowards, said that they never put anybody on the front line, saying just demonstrative things about all our allies, and saying that the United States won't forget and will remember, and they need to take over their own the Straits of Hormuz, and we don't need to be doing it because we don't need the oil and they need it, and they need to just come in and take over. So you can't, on one hand, talk crazy about your allies, then on the other hand, demand that they come and take over a war that you started without getting any information or insight from them on how they feel about it, especially when it started because of a lie, with you saying that there was threats of them coming close to having a nuclear within weeks, you said, of having a nuclear weapon, which has already been debunked by officials in the government that have stepped away because they couldn't maintain or they had more dignity and value as people to not stick with the lies that you're telling the public. So now since you jumped into this war, since you're Putin's girlfriend, or not Putin, well, you're Putin's girlfriend, you're Putin's boo. You want to be Putin's boo, but you're the Netanyahu's boo. That's what you are. Since Netanyahu coaxed you in to getting into this war that prior presidents would not engage in, Obama, Biden, they would not engage in a war that Netanyahu wanted for so long. And he gave you a kiss on your cheek and you turned over for him. And now in this war, and instead of you having a brain of your own and not being involved in this war because your girlfriend wanted you to be, what you chose to do is to demean and defame our allies. Why do people act like Israel is the end-all be-all to America's allies? They have done nothing for America. They're not talking about putting their ground troops they're not talking about putting their troops on the ground in Iran. Why would a president sacrifice his own American troops in Iran for a war that Israel wanted, and they're not even sacrificing their their troops? They're not even putting their troops on the ground. How does that make sense? Because our senile president got a kiss on his cheek from his girlfriend Netanyahu, and now he's willing to just spread his legs and do whatever they want him to do, even if that means sacrificing American lives. It's basically what's going on. And he jumped into this because two things. Netanyahu convinced him that now the whole team is together, the whole regime lead team is together. If we strike now, we can get them all, and we'll topple them, and then the people will rise up, and it will be just that quick, a couple of weeks, and you'll be a hero. And Donald Trump, who's very ignorant and stupid, wants people to believe that he's very intelligent, calculated, smart. Like he thinks he created the plan to go in and retrieve the president in Venezuela. He thinks he created that plan. No, that's no difference from when the SEAL Team 5 went in and they got bin Laden. It's no different. The only difference is there was not a kill order on the Venezuelan president. That's it. But Donald Trump is so stupid that he thought that anywhere in the world you can go and do the same thing. And you know what he is? He's a coward because, of course, he's bragging about bombing Iran and how close they are to a nuclear weapon. And they say that they're close to a nuclear weapon. And they also say that they wish death on Americans. You know who else does that and who else has nuclear weapons? North Korea. You're so big and so tough. Why aren't you picking fights with North Korea? They have nuclear weapons and they say death to Americans as well. I don't see you going over there beefing with them because you're a coward. Cowards pick fights with people who they know they can win the fights against. But they didn't expect for the Iranians to be so smart with the way that they chose to fight their war, going out to the Gulf states and the surrounding countries and shooting back at Israel. And one question that nobody's asking, because they try to say, well, we found out that Israel has been lying because they shot 2 missiles that reached to places they weren't supposed to reach. They weren't supposed to have the capabilities for those ballistic missiles to reach that far, proving that they could have reached Europe if they wanted to. Okay. Why don't you ask yourself the question, why didn't they then? If they have ballistic missiles that can reach Europe, and that's verified, why didn't they Why haven't they shot at Europe? If they're so demonic and they're so simple and caveman-like and primitive, and you say the threat is Europe, why have they not shot at Europe not one time? We see that they have the capabilities. Why haven't they? That's what you're claiming. You're claiming they're going to get nuclear weapons and then they're going to use them or threaten Europe, and everybody's going to be in fear and everybody's going to be subject to their cowardry. Okay, they have the ballistic missiles that can reach Europe. They have not once shot at Europe. Why not? That shows that they're, in my opinion, oh man, come on, quit tripping. I hate this camera sometimes. It gets dark like that when the sun's over or the light's over here. But that proves that they have no intention on firing at Europe unless they feel threatened, and that's the last option. Because other than that, why haven't they just did it? Like if Europe would have joined in and they also started bombing Iran, then I believe they would have shot those ballistic missiles right into Europe. But Europe has not joined. Nobody has joined. And so they're not responding to anybody except Israel and then the surrounding Gulf states, because they're assisting they were assisting the United States, in which they are not anymore. So Pam Bondi is now fired because Trump winning in this war so like I was saying, him and Netanyahu agreed, oh yeah, we can get him right now. The whole leadership team is together. That didn't work. So Trump thought he was going to be in and out and he was going to be this big hero. The second thing it would do for him is get the eyes off of him with regard to the Epstein files, because that was huge right before this conflict. And now all of a sudden, the conflict is what everybody's talking about. The conflict is on the front lines, on the front pages of every story. But now that's coming to an end. So the Pam Bondi firing is on the front page of every story, every headline, every network. So what's going to happen now, though? Once he puts someone else in place, Pam Bondi knows a lot. She knows where the skeletons are. He's put her in a place where she knows where the skeletons are. What is he promising her so that she'll never betray him? Or will she betray him? Will she be called in front of the Senate and Congress to speak in front of the House? This is what we need to be watching for. Is she still going to be loyal to a fault where it degrades her legacy as if it can be degraded anymore? Or is she going to try to save her own legacy and tell the truth and say what she knows? This is to be continued. So as the world evolves in all ways, make sure that your foundation is eternal love always. Please like, subscribe, please comment, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I'm on the Eli Frequency Vibe. So as always, keep it Eli, frequently. Peace.
Oh, yeah. Room's hazy, but your vibe is crystal clear. Got me thinking about a future, not just right here. They can see the way I'm looking, ain't no doubt. It's ELA.